This is Brian Wilkerson here from MA-Motorsports, and we are back working on the R32 GTR shop project. And what you see here behind me are these brake rotors. These are from an old Grex / Alcon big brake kit for the front of an R32 GTR. And I got a really good deal on these. Rightfully so, though, they need a lot of work. They are at least 20 years old. I've already contacted Alcon, and as it turns out, they do have seals and pistons for these in stock in England, which is very cool. And I got to sort some new rotors, rings out for them. First, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm sending some other parts for Ilaria out to anodizing. So I'm going to get these anodized as well while I'm sending parts. So I'm going to take these apart, and then I'm also going to take the calipers apart and see what they need, if anything. So these things were originally the Grex Alcon gold color. It looks like somebody had spray painted them black at some point in time. We are going to take them over to the blast cabinet here and blast whatever finishes off of them first before we put them in the vapor hone for a final smooth finish, and then send them to anodize. All right, so this is the end result of the vapor blasting the rotor hats before they go to, this box is filled with other stuff that we're going to send to anodizing. There is like some pitting, a little bit of pitting in them, which, you know, the vapor blasting is not going to get out, but it's okay. They're old. They're going to have a fresh coat of anodizing on them. I'll even ask them if they have a tumbler, if they'll tumble them first, and if not, it'll be all right. I'm not too worried about it. But the finish should be nice and uniform, which is what I was after, and I didn't want to send them to anodizing with a bunch of old paint and anodizing stuck to them. So we'll see what they look like when they get back. Here are the calipers. Pretty sweet. OG Alcon Grex stuff. Alcon is top-notch braking system components. So while these things are old, probably about 20-year-old brake calipers, I'm going to pull the pads out, take these things apart, check to see if there's any real bad pitting on the pistons or anything, and get new seals for them as well. And then I'll have my friend Dylan at Powder Coat Express put a fresh coat of something on it. Not sure if we're going to do, probably won't do the gold again, even though this is kind of iconic gold with the blue. I think I might do red. Could just do a silverish, maybe even just black with some sort of contrasting color in here. We'll see what happens. Shane is mounting up our Motec C125, which is what we're going to use for data logging, lap timing, and just regular old information display. It's an aluminum bracket, pretty straightforward. He's made them like this for us before. And then it just clamps to the column just like that, and all that gets hidden underneath of the factory plastic panels. All right, we're under the GTR here, and I started plumbing the fuel lines, or attempted to, and realized that I didn't have anything done with my brake lines yet. It was missing all of the original clips and everything. We deleted the Hicus, got rid of the evap line right here. Don't need that junk. And so we were left with just one brake line, and so I just riveted in some nice little Adele clamps there to keep my brake line secured, nice and tidy, up out of the way. And now I'm going to do something similar for the fuel lines. This car is never going to be like OEM spec again. If anything, it's probably going to eventually evolve into more of a track-oriented like race car. So I'm not too worried about putting a couple extra holes in it. This is something that we might do to like a race car, but not typically to a street car. And so, you know, it was a little iffy. I thought about using some products that are out on the market that are designed for this, but I think that if I do it properly, there will be no problem with just putting a few riv nuts in and placing my own P clamps or Adele clamps along the frame rail to accommodate the fuel line sizes that I want to run. Crimping together our hoses here. We are using Radium pretty much exclusively for all the fuel system components except for the hose. So this is going to go from the filter, which is mounted down on my frame rail, straight to this Y fitting they make, which is pretty nice. It's got an 8 AN on the one side, and then I'm doing 2 6s that will split to each side of the rail. There is our filter. So this fella is going to go up in here, snake around the steering shaft, and I'll use a little clamp to hold the hose right there in that threaded hole up there next to it. Here is another very cool product from Radium I'm going to be using on the GTR. It is their split flow content sensor adapter. Essentially, this product allows full flow of the fuel while also still picking up the content sensor reading. So instead of being limited by what these 5/16 barbs can flow, you have these huge -10 ports on either side. And while it's probably unnecessary for what I'm doing, because I'm only doing a -6 return and this car doesn't need a massive return hose, it's still a very handy little bracket and a good way to mount the sensor as well. So I'm going to be mounting this right above the fuel filter in the same area underneath of the steering shaft. A little spacer to go behind the sensor here so that we can get it off a little bump in the frame rail, that's all. There we go. Here we got our fuel lines connected back here at the Radium fuel hanger surge tank, and don't mind this factory wiring, that was just there to test some stuff. But we got our 8 feed, 6 return. All right, we got fuel lines all plumbed up under the car, everything tied here to the frame rails. Might make like a little skid plate here, but it's not any lower than the frame rail, but still. So this turned out pretty good for a quick job. Content sensor and fuel filter from Radium mounted there. Time to do the top. I'm up here in the engine bay now, and like I was saying, we are going to come off of this Y fitting down here, and we are going to feed both sides of the rail. So you feed that side, you feed this side, and then the return is going to be this fella here that's almost in the middle, not quite. That's the plan. I'm working on this rear line, got a 120-degree fitting back here, kind of tight. Don't mind these blue hoses, I got black ones. 1 feed, 2 feed, 1 return here. It's going to come down here to the side of the regulator, and then we got to get the one out of the bottom to the content sensor hiding behind that steering shaft. And pretty happy with how this turned out. Decided to do a 120 here to bring it down so I could tie it along the fuel rail and follow this line, as opposed to doing like a 90 like I've seen done before, and then the hose just kind of like floats up here in the middle of nowhere. That's a little tidier in my opinion. Coming out of there, those two are tied together, and just one more hose off the bottom of the regulator down to my content sensor, and that's going to be a tight one. So while I did the fuel system, Devin has been working on this harness here. This is the auxiliary harness for the link ECU, all the additional sensors. And Devin has been teaching himself concentric wiring. Pretty good stuff. Split here. And so this is going to run all of the extra sensors: fuel pressure, oil pressure, temperatures. We're doing turbo speed just because we can. And what are the other sensors we're running? I believe there'll be some spares for when we do flat shift. Ethanol content, yep. So should be pretty sweet. That's the next piece to the puzzle. That and intercooler pipes. That'll be in the next video too. That's a wrap on this video for the R32 project. Got all the fuel system plumbed, looked into the braking system upgrade that we're gonna do. I did not get to dig into the calipers, but I'm just going to take them apart, send them to get powder coated, and carry on. So next video, hopefully we'll get it running. Should be, I don't see why that's not the next step. So see you on the next video of this car, and we'll probably have something on another project meanwhile, so make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching.